G'day, ZiggyD here, and welcome back for part 28 of the Path of Exile Survival Guide. Like we did for the Vaal fight, I want to go back now and take a detailed look at the Dominus fight. This is one of the biggest hurdles you'll experience in the game. It's a very difficult fight. It's still a very mechanical fight like the Vaal fight, however it's much more crazy and kind of all over the place than the Vaal fight. It becomes very easy once you're comfortable with the Vaal fight to simply move out of the way of all of the attacks and manage the adds and everything like that. It never really becomes too overwhelming. However, the Dominus fight itself, you know, especially when we're moving into the early parts of Phase 2, there's lots of adds, there's blood rain going on, there's all of these attacks going off at once in the first phase as well. Things can get pretty nasty in here. But we can break this down. We can take a look at my my recording of this. I went through and did this without commentary so that I could try and play my best. I still make a lot of mistakes in this, of course, but we'll analyze those mistakes, and I'll try and give you guys as much info as about the fight as possible. So let's jump into the start of it. At this point here, I've just gone back to town because I actually had like something weird happen on with my computer. But I've actually activated him now. To basically activate him, what you want to do is walk over to the platform where he's standing, and he'll start saying something. As soon as that happens, you want to run back over to this corner here. Now, it's a really good idea to also put up a teleport in this corner. I find this is the best spot to do it. It's where you're going to be for some of the early parts of the fight, and it's a nice out-of-the-way spot to put the portal. You're not going to accidentally click on it. So this is where I put the portal, and we can use this for refreshes. Now, the reason we've ran over here is we don't want to activate all of the champions at once. So there's basically Dominus's champions. At the start, there's 3 of them there, ready to fight you at the very beginning. These 3 guys all together are very dangerous. There's a cold one, there's a lightning one, and there's a fire one. The fireball one especially is very dangerous. And fighting them all at once is very, very dangerous. Probably one of the hardest things you can do. So, however, by moving away after we've activated him, so made him start talking, we'll be able to draw them off one by one, and that's what we'll do here. So what I'll do here is you'll notice he starts coming over. He's usually going to come over by himself. There should be, I'm pretty sure it's always Imperial to Stantius here, the cold damage one. Now these guys are pretty easy to deal with, but what you want to do is be very careful to not accidentally fire any projectiles over to activate the other ones. If we hit any of the other champions over there or any of the other adds, we're gonna wake them up, they're gonna come attack us, and things are gonna get pretty out of control. So we're going to draw him over here, use our single target to carefully only hit him. Then what we want to do is try not to trap. You don't want to go down here, you'll trap yourself down in here, but you want to hang out in this just area here. So we'll just take a look at how I fight him now. He's very easy to avoid. You'll notice I use temporal chains on him, and that slows him down a great deal, and it's very easy to move out of the way of. So you just kind of kite him up and down in this little area here. When he gets close to you, kind of just run around him. Try and stay out of his Arctic Armor ground effect if possible. It's very wide, so it is a bit difficult to avoid sometimes. And as you can see, if he does hit you, he does a fair bit of damage. But fighting him by himself, you can actually probably just face tank him if your gear and everything is okay. So we take him out pretty easily, even just able to face tank him there, not really any issues. So from there, we'll try and draw over some of the extra just wide mobs that are over near him. So I'll just try and kill these ones off. You notice I'm mostly using my single target attack here, even though I should be using an AoE to kill these guys. I don't want to accidentally wake up any of the other champions. So now we're just kind of inch ourselves across. We found another ad. We'll kill this guy off. I think I might try and activate one of them now by firing a single shot. I hear a hit, so I move back. It looks like we've activated the lightning champion. Good stuff. So now what we want to do is try and kill her off. I'm firing lightning arrows over that direction, but I'm not going to hit the other champion because he's far off to the left. So sometimes she's a bit painful because she's a ranged one. She likes to use her totems. And the general method for fighting her is to try and just kill her off without activating the other champion. But you also want to try and manage her totems. 2 totems like this pretty far away for you is not a big issue, as long as you're not standing near a wall. You'll notice I'm standing here in an open sort of area, so the sparks don't stack up on me too much. If there's too many here, I'll start trying to clear those out a bit, but I'm able to just kill her and without any major problems there. So not too bad, fighting him one by one, nice and easy. And finally, the fireball guy, I use temporal chains on him. Now you can dodge these fireballs, you just take a step to the right or left. If you're fighting at range, and you can avoid that. At close range, you're in very severe danger of being hit by those by quite a bit, and he does a fair bit of damage in melee as well. So you want to watch out for that. But just try and do your best with him as a melee fighter. He's a pretty tough champion, but by himself, as you can see, still pretty able to manage, and you can probably even face tank him. Me eating the fireballs there, not too big a deal. When he leap slams you, he puts a fire trap effect down on the ground there, so you want to take a step out of that after he leap slams on you. So as soon as he dies, the other champion spawns. So try and make sure you're killing him further over to the right. It would have been good if I was over in this direction a bit more. Instead, we accidentally killed him here. I should have drawn him over a bit more, but we're going to wake up the chaos damage one as soon as like straight away here. Now she does quite a bit of damage. We want to try and kill off any adds with her as well. And as for her, I like to position myself next to the portal because, as you can see, the Viper strikes, they can stack up. You can be taking a lot of damage. You might want to refresh for this particular mob here. Still have all my flasks up here. I can use a granite to help with like the EK attack she does. But it's kind of like a slash. I think it's a half chaos, half fizz damage one. So the granite or jade flask will help a little bit there if you're iron reflexes. But we can still face Tonko by yourself. Just be careful not to go up into the top left because there is another mob up there and we don't want to activate him just yet. So we kill her off. We'll try and kill off the other adds. There's a few like blues and stuff in here as well. So we'll just kill off all these adds before we move over. Just, again, being careful not to aggro everything at once. So at this point, you'll notice what I do here is I switch out life gain on hit for weapon elemental damage on my main AoE attack. I highly suggest for this entire fight, in fact, I probably should have done this before the fight, but I highly suggest on your main AoE skill having a very potent heal. So this could either be life leech if you do a lot of damage, or life gain on hit if you hit a lot like with lightning arrows. So life gain on hit's nice instant heal, and we're going to need this a lot through the fight. So don't be afraid to switch up your skills a little bit and tailor them to this fight, and having the heal is very good there as well. So from here, I set up, and I've got one more guy to kill. This last one's very easy. We'll go kill the adds. Wait, sorry, there's two more left. So what we're going to do is we want to fight this one. Now, this is a Tentacle Miscreation. Everyone but Arctic Armor characters are going to take a lot of damage from this. She also has a haste aura. Now, what you want to do is, if you have Temporal Chains, you want to use that 100% of the time, because it's very hard to dodge her attacks otherwise. Whenever she starts firing, you want to take a step to the left or right, and you'll avoid the majority of the projectiles. You're going to eat some of them, but with Temporal Chains it becomes a bit easier. As you can see, Temporal Chains drops a few times during this fight, and she pretty much fires back to back there, and it's very, very difficult to avoid them all, and you take a lot of damage, so Temporal Chains helps a lot. Otherwise, if you don't have Temp Chains, you can use a Decoy Totem or something like that to distract her a little bit, but otherwise you just gotta do your best to avoid as much of those as possible. This last guy here uses Reave and blinds you with a smoke cloud. If you're a melee attacker without Resolute Technique, you want to do, or if you're a ranged attacker without Resolute Technique, you want to move out of that smoke screen. Otherwise, he's extremely easy. So I just use Projectile Weakness on him to finish him off. So right here, once you hear Dominus start talking again, you know you've killed the final champion, and a bunch of mobs will spawn. Try and kill off as many of these as possible here, because if you hang away from that area, a lot of the time they won't actually come over to you. So we're going to kill off these initial ones here. I'll try and use my AoE ability, and then we'll try and draw Dominus out. Now you notice, this is the first attack of Dominus we need to watch out for. When this mark comes above your head, he usually says something at the same time, usually something like die in ore or something like that. When this mark's above our head, we want to move away from the adds. The adds will ignite, they'll run over to you and try and explode on you, dealing large amounts of fire damage. Eating one, maybe even two of those isn't a big deal if you've got your resistances capped. By the way, side note, you want to try and cap all your resistances in this fight. Cold is the one you can get away with being a bit lower, but lightning and fire are essential. But try and move away from these guys. You can kill them as they run towards you, otherwise you just want to use a Quicksilver Flask and get out of there and try and avoid those guys. As you see there, we just do that and kill those guys off. So there's Dominus, and now he's using his Ghost attack. Now this is a lightning damage attack, and if you eat the full volley of it, it does a lot of damage. Each individual one hits pretty hard, but pretty easy to heal back up after just eating one or two projectiles. So the way he'll do this is a stream. It's kind of like a, we'll watch it play, and that'll describe it best. It's kind of a, a long duration stream, but the projectiles themselves aren't too fast, so if you run circles around him, you'll be able to avoid all of those projectiles, and we'll try and do that a bit better in the future. However, things go pretty badly just here. Let's move forwards a little bit for me. And you'll notice he now summons up his totems. Now this is a Searing Bond totem, however, for Dominus it's actually like an Arctic Ice Bond, and it does a damage over time effect that is cold, so having cold resistances help against this, but it's very easy to avoid otherwise. It also has a slowing effect, and this is actually the most dangerous thing. You don't want to be here. If I'm here, I'm going to eat 3 of these arcs here, and it's going to be triple the amount of damage. It's going to hurt a lot, so you're going to try and get out of that. You have a short delay when they first appear. Let's go back and see that. You see, they appear, you have, okay, this is when you're like, okay, stop attacking, move, take a step away. You have enough time when they first appear to move out of the way of those. I hang out in the bit and you'll see I'll take a fair bit of damage. But here's where things go wrong. This is terrible here, right here, this is terrible. So basically, positioning against the first phase of Dominus is everything. Positioning is so important in this fight, and right now I got myself into a terrible position. We are going to use this wall here for this fight to block a lot of his projectile attacks. However, moving away from here, I was focusing on the searing beams or the ice beams, and I didn't realize that he was hooking around to the right. Now we've gotten ourselves into a terrible position. You want to always be able to circle around him when he's using this attack, otherwise you're going to eat the full volley. However, look where I am right now. There's a wall on one side, there's the ledge on one side here. I have nowhere to move, there's nothing I can do. So that's really bad, and watch what happens. My life, I almost die here, almost die right there. I think, okay, I can't really move back through the beams. I'm gonna get slowed from those beams, and that'll make it much harder to avoid these guys. And I decide to run through him. I don't know if that was the best decision, but it was just the decision I made there on a split second, because I knew I was in a terrible position right there. But we'll try and avoid that moving forwards. So from here, what we're going to do, I'm trying to just kind of lure him into a better position. Where he is now is pretty annoying. There's the totems there, but whenever he starts firing those, I'll try and move around. However, where he is now, I can't actually see him. In action RPGs, you're kind of below your character looking upwards. You can see more in the top left, top right of the screen, and above you than you can below. You know, you've got the UI elements here, and you can't see as far in that direction because of the angle. So the best way to position Dominus is going to be somewhere above you. So we want to get him over here, we want to get him up here, somewhere like that. Up here would be nice, and I'm trying to draw him over in that direction now. So he activates his his mark there. So we just want to watch out for those ads. There's only one ad here, so I'm not too bad. Now is probably a good chance to attack otherwise, but I just avoid those, wait for them to blow up. Now it takes a while for me to kind of get him into a position and get a rhythm up for dealing sustained damage. Because he has energy shield, you see, if you're not keeping that down, you're going to take, you're not going to be able to hurt him basically. His energy shield is going to keep regenning. So what we'll do is we'll actually skip forwards a bit to when I actually am able to draw him out somewhere. Actually, I'll talk about this attack just now. When he does a teleport attack now, I don't think it actually hurts you at all, but it lays down a shocking ground effect. Now, he's actually kind of stunned for a second after doing this, and you can start attacking him. However, I highly recommend prioritizing stepping out of that shocking ground effect. When you're standing on this, it's an infinite duration as long as you're in the effect. Shock, basically, you take 30% more damage from everything. So you don't want to be standing in that when he's firing his lightning attack off, or when you're getting exploded, or when you're getting hit by Arctic beams. So try and get out of that as fast as you can, and then use that as an opportunity to attack him. Alright, so I'm going to skip forwards a bit. We'll try and move forward somewhere about 7:45, I think, is where I start to get the positioning right. It takes a little while. This fight, if you're trying to do it carefully, is definitely a long one. But it's still possible to do while avoiding most damage. Die! So you'll notice he casts the beams. I'm making sure to stay out of that. I stay out of the ground effect, the shock ground effect there, and I try and keep circling around him. Alright, not a bad position here. Alright, he's teleporting into a bit of an awkward position, but we can use the wall here whenever he starts casting. I duck behind the wall. And when he's using some other thing like Dying Ore, you notice how we're staying down this side of the screen. We're not aggroing any of the ads. There's actually a lot of these guys up in the top left there coming out of the machine, but they won't come near you unless they see you, unless you get too close or if you attack them. So I'm being careful not to attack in that direction, and I'm trying to avoid the most of them. If one or two of those guys every now and then, not too hard to deal with. Now there's his other attack. There's his kind of AoE melee attack. If you're in close and you shout something and raises his fist above his head, you want to move away. If you kind of don't really see whether he's raised his fist up or not, good practice to just move away from him whenever he says something, because he could be casting that. It's a big AoE nuke, it does a fair bit of damage, and can shock you. So moving forwards here, pretty bad position again, we can't really see him, but we can still use that wall. Whenever he starts casting that, I just kind of start hooking around the wall there. We can circle around him there. You'll notice I still take no damage. I just wait and see what he's doing, and then I attack once I know he's doing something else. As long as I'm not in the Arctic beams, we're fine. Now you'll notice I use my lightning arrow every now and then. If I don't feel like I have a clean shot on him, I'll use that to just make sure, even though it does less damage, I'll use that just to make sure his energy shield isn't regenning. As long as you deal damage every now and then, his energy shield won't regen. Otherwise I'll be using my single target DPS attack, Frenzy, for the most part, using that. So he's stunned there. I try and take that opportunity to attack. I get myself into a better position here. This is a good position to be in right here. We're using this wall, and we're able to duck around. We're able to avoid the majority of those beams. He teleports, that's fine. We'll try and use what we can. We accidentally aggro a few mobs here. This is a bit annoying. Try and kill off the mobs if you do aggro them, or just try and position them away from you so that you can kill them with your AoE, and even hit them and Dominus himself with AoE. We're in between a triangle of beams there, not taking any damage, thankfully. But we do need to get out of there. It's a bad position to be in. You want to make sure you're always able to circle around him if you need to. Pretty weird that he didn't cast his AoE then. I actually noticed that during the fight, thought it was a bit weird. But otherwise, just using this wall, circling around as much as possible, avoiding as much of those attacks, and just keeping that sustained damage as much as possible. Now, a good addition for this is if you can get a fire trap. That's a fantastic way to get sustained damage on him. Even if you don't have a leveled up fire trap, just throwing one down and having that deal constant damage to him while you're dodging attacks will help keep his energy shield down. Something I didn't incorporate, but something you can if you want. So let's move forwards now to 11:25, which is about the time where he starts to move into the second phase. So when he gets low health, try and, if you're a ranged character, try and be far away from him. So watch what happens here. Okay, he does his teleport there, and then you'll notice just when I stepped close to him, he activated. If I actually had waited over here after he did his teleport there, when he had life reach 0, he wouldn't actually activate. He kind of just stands there in his first form for a while. Good chance to regen, maybe even go back to town, refill your flask, take a breather, because it's a pretty stressful fight. Good chance then, but once you walk close to him, he will activate, otherwise he'll just stand there. So now he goes into his second form, and things get pretty scary. So what we want to do to prepare for the second form is you actually want to be kind of close to him. I like to sort of just stand in this area here. We'll actually see. I think I do the same thing. I think I just position just about there. Now the reason for this is you can actually go straight into blood rain right off the bat. So don't go like hide in a corner somewhere, because if you blood rains you will die. And that's definitely happened to me before, I think on the first time I fought Dominus. Wasn't keeping an eye on him, went into blood rain and ended up dying. So we keep close to him, and then let's start going through the different attacks. Now this first part of the second phase here is pretty stressful. I throw down my decoys because, you know, might as well do as much preparation as I can. Now basically, there's a lot going on here. He himself does cleaves and little attacks that apply bleed stacks to you, and these hurt quite badly. He's also got a blood rain effect, which can kill you outright if you're not close to him. You have to get in a bubble inside and be close to him. But the main thing that will kill you in this fight that does a lot of damage is the adds. Now for the first half of this second phase, there's going to be a lot of adds spawning, so you want to pretty much use your AoE as much as possible. And this is the main reason why we put life gain on hit on my AoE, and why you want some form of healing capability on your AoE. Because when all these adds start spawning, you need to heal a lot, and you need to also be killing the adds at the same time as damaging Dominus. So this is pretty hairy, and I do have a lot of close calls in this phase. Blood Rain, as soon as this happens, pretty obvious, pretty hard to miss, but there's also the golden circle if you're not quite sure if the Blood Rain is happening. As soon as that happens, you want to get in this golden circle here. This golden circle is actually like an anti-bleed area, basically. The blood rain around here applies a bleed damage over time effect that is very, very potent and will kill you, probably, depending on your life and whether you're using flasks, in like 5 to 10 seconds, maybe, if you're using flasks. But if you have low life, it can actually kill you much faster than that. So, once that happens, if you want to get in this circle, this bubble here, you'll not have the bleed effect as long as you're in here. Now, an important side note is that his melee attack usually applies bleed dots to you. However, when you're in the circle, you don't take the bleed dots, so don't be afraid of him. He actually deals very little damage when you're inside the circle. It's the bleed dots that deal a lot of the damage. So as you can see here, he's cleaving me. I'm not taking much damage. However, what I am taking a lot of damage from is these adds. Meleeing me, there's whipping miscreations here. There'll be tentacle miscreations as well. So I want to use my AoE as much as possible. I'm actually using my single target here, which is pretty bad, and I'm not healing very well, and I'm not managing the adds. So the adds actually start to stack up. You can see there's a lot there. Alright, I'm like, oh crap, there's a lot of adds there. Got to start using my AoE. Now what you just saw there was some little globules. Let's go back. He actually fires corpses a lot like some of the other mobs do in this area in Act 3 X Zone. There we go. Basically, he fires like the corpses at you. He usually does this in 2 volleys. Occasionally, he'll do it in 1. But basically, there's the first volley. Is there a second volley this time? Not a second volley this time. But you want to kind of run around until you're avoiding that. As long as you're moving, that won't hit you. So pretty easy to avoid. Now, when it's not blood raining, you do want to try and keep your distance from him. If you can tempt chains and decoy totem, that's very effective. It takes a while, as long as there's not too many ads for those to die. So you can, for your decoy totems to die, you can use that to try and keep him off you. But try and stay out of melee range. He does apply bleeds when you're in melee range. You see I got cleaved there. I've taken the bleed stack. Overall, this is a very hairy part of the fight, very scary. You can take a lot of damage from these ads, so I'm just trying to use my decoy totems as much as possible, trying to tempt chains wherever I can, avoiding the charging leap slam, and as soon as the blood rain goes up, getting in that bubble. Now I want to position all the ads on the same side as Dominus to me, so I don't want to get surrounded, and I want to be able to kill them with my AoE from Lightning Arrow. Depends on the AoE for you, but oh, how was that close call there? Let's actually go back and see what happened just there, because I knew I did have one big close call in here. Alright, so I'm eating attacks from the Tentacle Miscreation. I'm surrounded by 1, 2, 3, 4 ads and being hit by Dominus. And you can see my health goes down very quickly in here. Is this the actual part? Yeah, there it is. Whoa, a lot. I managed to flask through it just, but a very close call there, so not optimal. You definitely want to keep managing those ads, keep using that AoE, and keep positioning as much as possible. Putting down a decoy totem, temporal chaining them as well is going to help you out a lot. So I'll try and move forwards now. Basically, the way to do with that, I go for a refresh here to refill my flasks after that close call. Definitely a good idea. Put my portal back up, and then go back to trying to manage these ads and avoid a lot of this damage. Just try and working down as best as possible while managing this ads, and let's skip forwards to about 16 minutes where I get his life down to about half. Now, I'm pretty sure him getting to half life is what triggers it. So here you notice he's below half life, and you'll notice no more ads. They stop spawning. The fight is kind of over at this point. As long as you're not like super squishy, you can tank him basically through the rest of this fight. And I'll actually skip forwards a bit. Like I still do try and stay out of melee. I use my decoy totems. Decoy totem lasts a very long time now that there's no ads to kill it. Mostly it was the ads killing it. And whenever he kills it, I can just resummon the decoy totem. And he'll attack that mostly. Every now and then he'll charge and attack you. But for the most part, I can actually just tank him here. You know, I'm able to heal through the attacks. And you should probably be able to, unless you're very squishy. Otherwise, you can keep avoiding, get it inside when the bubble, and just try and flat out DPS him as much as possible. And as I said, once you've gotten past that ads hurdle, fight's pretty much over. Pretty good stuff. And definitely a stressful fight, but you try and keep these things in mind, try and keep a cool head about it, try and manage those ads as best as possible, and play it as intelligently as possible by like picking off those different champions one by one and all that sort of jazz, and staying away from the ad spawn and watching your positioning. You can avoid most of the damage, probably not all of it unless you're playing absolutely perfectly, but enough of the damage to be able to get through safely. And although we had some close calls in this, it was a pretty reasonable fight, and I was able to get through solo pretty well. So anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed that description and analysis of the Dominus fight, and I hope you have much better luck with it and don't have any Dominus rips in the future. Anyway, that's it for now. I'm ZiggyD, and thanks for watching.